Hey, this is Gary Butterfield.
This is Cole Ross.
And we just want to take a quick moment to announce something at the top of the show, let you know about a cool thing we're doing. We think it's cool. Hopefully you'll think it's cool too, but it's also asking for help as well.
Yes.
So,
yeah. we are approaching you with our hands out.
Yes, we're standing in a cartoon barrel. I'm in a cartoon barrel. Cole has his hands in his pockets going, you can't pay.
I will gladly pay you tomorrow for a Patreon today.
Yeah, yes, for a podcast today.
Yes.
We're starting a Patreon. Mm-hmm. We started a Patreon.
Yeah. So you'll remember last year we did a Kickstarter kind of as a way to fund a live show for Watch Out for Fireballs. But we feel that Patreon is more in line with what we're doing, which is creating a great deal of content on a very regular basis for an awesome and dedicated audience like you.
Yes. Yeah, like the Kickstarter was awesome, and you guys really brought it, and that was way appreciated. Way appreciated.
We've
been recording for a long time. I sound like an idiot. But
this is an uncomfortable situation, Gary.
Yes, it was very appreciated. But we, things didn't stop when we did that. We kept going, and we've been doing more, and we're really, really into it. And there's other things we'd like to do. We want to invest back in the network. We want to do another live show. And we want to also have an easy kind of pathway for people who are able, to kind of pitch in a little bit. It's not pressure. We're not holding anything hostage. The show's free. It's always going to be free. We would never do that kind of nonsense. But if you've got, $1 a month, a couple bucks a month, and you're, consider doing this, we'd really appreciate it because it's a really concrete show of appreciation. And we put a lot of work into what we do, and produce a lot of stuff, so, we're proud to kind of roll this out. Mm-hmm. And,
So you're wondering, what do we get out of this, aside from the satisfaction of supporting, this thing that we like, which,
mm-hmm.
you should feel terrible for not giving us
or a thing that you don't like. And if so, stop listening a couple seconds ago. You don't accidentally download a podcast, buddy.
What are you doing here?
Yeah.
No. But so you're asking hey, what's in it for us? We've thought about it for a little while. We've gone back and forth, and we feel that the best thing that we can give you is access. So mm-hmm. at $1 a month, you get access to our Patreon only stream, which will give you production details, right?
Yep.
Things.
So this is we're not going to let this turn into a WoFi, or no, not WoFi, WAF track situation. Where we did it, we said we were going to do something and didn't quite do it, and we are going to do it. Mm-hmm. Trust us, we just haven't done it yet. It is going to be a regular thing. We're going to write about kind of the background behind each show. We're going to ping pong these. It's going to come out once a week, and it's going to be like a blog entry where we talk about the producing the show. Some of it's going to be insider tech stuff. Some of it's just going to be whatever, like thoughts on the game that didn't make it. It's going to be pretty up in the air, but it's going to be it's going to be accessy.
Yeah, which is the theme. And at $3 a month, $3, that is so little. That is 2 pops a month, or sodas if you're living outside of the Midwest. That is early access to shows. So,
1 beer if you're a man.
Sody pop and a lollipop. No, so $3. We're gonna fuck up occasionally. Shit gets real sometimes. However, what we want to do is say hey, if you want the show a day early, $3 gets you that.
Yep. Yeah. So if you're interested in that, and that similar to we talk a lot about what happens if we die between when we record something and something gets released. The us not doing this is going to be somebody died. This is going to be the Cole gets hit by another car thing. But other than that, we will be able to stick to this.
Yeah.
So, and the reason why I keep emphasizing how accountable we're going to be is because I feel like that's a fear with a lot. We're not going to double fine you. Yeah. And not actually do the things we say, we're going to do. So,
and the WAF tracks thing aside, which again, we are working on, don't worry, depression is a bitch.
Yeah.
But no, for real, I feel like we have a tremendous track record of getting stuff out, on the day we say we're going to do it. This business thrives on regularity, and what we want to do is extend that to people who, extend themselves to us.
Yeah, I think we've only missed one. And I think it was the car one, which is a great excuse, and we still managed to put something out.
That's awesome. Yeah, that was so good.
So yeah, we covered for it. We got you covered.
Yeah.
we ain't gonna fuck you. What do we get at the next tier? Cole has this in front of him, and I do not.
Well, at $5 a month, just $5, that is 1.5 sodas or 1 3/4 beers. That totally
Or
doesn't
one
make any
$5
sense.
foot long.
Yes, or 1 meatball marinara.
Mm-hmm.
Or one, so that's the 5/6 of a BMT. No, that is entry into the something we're doing new, which is a monthly live video broadcast, which is similar to the Watch Out for Interactions, where you get to throw in some just a question for us to answer, and be able to participate in that right there. And everybody will be able to listen to that eventually and watch that eventually. But what we want to do is make that more of a thing, because on all of our shows we tend to focus on a topic, but every other podcast tends to be write in about a thing and we answer a thing, and we want to do a little bit of that as well.
Yeah. You can ask us questions about games. You can ask us questions about anything,
Yeah.
and it's going to be kind of like a hangout situation.
It might even specifically be a Google Hangout on the air. So.
Yeah, exactly. It might be some kind of hangout.
Yes. But you can find through Google.
Yeah, capital H, lowercase h. But and you'll be able to participate in that and hang out and chat and ask us questions and just hang out.
Yeah.
So, and we're going to do that once a month.
Yeah.
Again, parents can die, but other than that, we're going to keep that regular.
And we're going to try and get other network people. So maybe you want to know what Dennis has to say. I do.
Yep. It's going to be, he can't stop talking about his fucking kid. It's going to be me, Cole, and one other person probably most months. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And, the upper levels, I hate to hop on the air and interrupt you. You want to hear about No Man's Wharf as much as we want to talk about No Man's Wharf. But there's going to start getting into physical rewards, things about in-jokes, things about postcards and little memorabilia that you can keep. We recommend that you go to duckfeed.tv/tipjar and use the little Patreon link there in order to check that out. Again, we don't take this lightly, coming to you and asking for money. What this is us weighing two options, which is incentivizing making you guys happy and providing you with regular content, and doing as we do, providing, on the average for last year, for 2013, about 24 hours. That is a full day a month of content, roughly one day, once every day for a whole month. Or providing, large numbers of ads. And, we'd rather say, hey, check this out, than tell you to check out Razors or whatnot.
Yeah.
Good.
Or go ahead. I'm sorry.
There's no saying what's going to happen in the future with anything, but that is the route that we would prefer. We would rather you guys vote in favor of us. That way, we give you what you want and continue telling great stories and continue relating the experience of either these games or things that make us laugh, and everything across the network, from horror games to writing about having a kid. These are things that we don't think you can get other places, and even if you can't get them in other places, we hope you like the flavor that we bring, and that's what we're betting on, is you betting on us.
And lest, that's very well said, lest you immediately call us hypocrites, we are not saying that we will never run another ad, but we're going to make an effort to make them relevant if we do.
Yes.
So if something happens like that, somebody decides they would like to sponsor us that way, that's fine, and that'll happen. But it's going to be, not for something that we don't care about.
Yeah. So we want to give, and we'll just talk about this too, we want to give you guys a voice. So if you have a project, if you have anything that you want, to amplify through us, there's going to be a channel for that. Right in through the contact form, there's an option there. We're never not going to run another ad, but we don't want to kind of fall into the same kind of alley that other people do. So that is a very good point, Gary.
Yeah, I just don't. Yeah, I don't want you to immediately make a stance and then fall against it. We're just not. But essentially, what we are saying is that fuck Warby Parker. And
I love your glasses, Warby Parker, but I'm not going to do that.
I hate your glasses, and fuck you, Warby Parker. So, if they ever wanted to sponsor us, I only want your glasses so I can put them in my butthole and dispose and forget about them, because that's what they're good for.
I hope that you beep out the name of the company.
I might. Maybe I'll. I don't know if I'm going to, actually. We shall see.
They're the only glasses that look good on me, Gary.
I don't think they're going to hear this and then not send you glasses. They won't know.
Man.
Yeah.
So
okay. Fuckstamps.com.
Fuckstamps.com.
Can we agree on that?
Yes,
least?
we can.
Little precious mail order glasses boy.
Just go to the post office.
I know it's not that big a deal.
No, they're nice people.
Yeah, yes, I don't like doing it, but those podcasts talk about like it's going to the dentist or something.
Yeah.
It's really not that big a deal. Nope. GoToMeeting is fine, but it is not like the be all end all solution. It is some of these podcast ads.
It is B2B pretending it's B2C, man. That is
exactly.
Yeah.
And Sherry's berries. Come on.
Yeah.
No, thank you, Sherry.
Yeah. It just like we make fun, but we're consumers of podcasts too. And what we feel is that we're taking an honest approach, which is we would rather you directly support something that you want.
Yeah.
Yep. Not to turn this into like a Max Fun, or NPR pledge drive kind of thing. This is not the only time you're going to hear about it, but this is the only time it's going to interrupt you from hearing about the thing you want to hear about, which is Viking pirates in a dark cave.
You guys love caves.
Yeah. But what we want to do, we would prefer that the relationship between you and us be as direct as possible, and we feel that Patreon is the way that we can make that happen in a way that rewards both you and us for the work and effort and interest that we all put into this.
Indeed. Well said. And without further ado, if you'd like to get a free audiobook download,
we did it for like a year and a half, man.
Yeah, without further ado, here, listen to Pirate. Listen to Bonfire.
Listen to Pirates. Duckview.tv/tipjar. There's a big Patreon image there.
Yeah.
Or search for us on Patreon. Share it with your friends. If you dig this thing and they don't know about this, that is the way that these things grow, just like anything else on this internet and this fucked up vocabulary. We all want to talk to Riff from Video Games Hot Dog, so let's just make that happen.
Why do we keep delaying? Let's just go to the episode.
When are they going to get to the fireworks factory?
Some of our landings were desperate adventures. We are now prepared to meet the inevitable counterattacks with power and with confidence.
The people feared the cursed ones like a plague. Some people would rather keep dreadful things out of sight, out of mind. So very typical of meek minds, don't you think?
My name is Gary Butterfield.
My name is Cole Ross.
And my name is Riff Connor.
And you are listening to Bonfireside Chat. It is a cursed favorite.
And this week we're talking about No Man's Wharf. And as you heard, we're joined by Riff from, the Video Games Hot Dog podcast. Thanks for joining us, Riff.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
it's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, no, you are the one of that crew that I have not met in person, but this is the next best thing.
This is virtual reality.
I am indeed wearing my Snow Crash.
Jamiroquai?
My Jamiroquai, my Snow Crash Jamiroquai hat. This is crazy crossover fan fiction, Gary.
Riff, is Riff short for anything?
Nope, just Riff.
That's cool. It is a cool name.
It's not my legal name. It was a name I sort of fell into through through most of my friends post high school being people that I met on like local dial-up bulletin boards. And I was using Riff Raff as my handle at the time, and then people started calling me Riff when they met me in real life, and then they would introduce me to other people as Riff, and eventually it just sort of ended up being my name somehow. So just one of those things.
Yeah,
I love a non-forced nickname.
Yeah.
Like it would be if you just came up one day and you're like, "Hey guys, call me Riff." That would be problematic. But that sounds very natural, and yeah.
That is very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. Let's all go around the table and say something we like about the other people's names. Cool. I think your name has a very unique spelling.
Yep.
Yes, that's just what I was going to say. The unusual K is very distinctive.
Yes, the out of place K. Also monosyllabic. Riff, that is something that you and I share.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Gary, you're one short
whereas
of
me?
the...
Yeah, whereas I go the other way.
Yeah.
And
Disyllabic.
it really takes all kinds.
You know what, guys? Life is funny.
Well, Gary's name also has the distinction of being a main feature of one of my favorite locations in Fallout 3. So,
yeah. Yep, you haven't got that going for me. It is a comedy name. People use it to make fun of things. Yeah.
Yep.
Whew. Thank you.
Cool name jokes, guys. Sorry. I'm trying to figure out a cool segue, but I can't.
What did we do last time?
Well, last time, let me find the pithy thing that I wrote and then proceed to ignore it. So last time we had Lobos Jr. with us as we went through Hade's Tower of Flame, that sunken city of lore, fought an old friend in the Blue Cathedral, and then we went through some elevators. through something that wasn't really that special at all.
Yeah, through a garbage area.
Yeah.
And the elevator is kind of significant. I don't know if we mentioned it last time, but this was the first time that I realized how truly spacey-wacy Dark Souls 2 is, because Hades sink beneath the sea, and to get to a new area, you go down several leagues.
Right.
So this is below sea level if they were actually next to each other, but I don't necessarily think they are really.
That tunnel that takes you to the wharf does not slope up at a significant enough degree to get you back up above the water.
Yeah.
There is no commensurate elevator up that takes you.
Yeah. So space is definitely weird. And now that the somebody Emerald, who is a real cool YouTuber, released the map data, viewing the map data of Dark Souls 2, and it really verifies all of this stuff. Like, things are not meant to be connected in the way they are Dark Souls 2.
The theory that I'd been hearing about it the most on Reddit that people are talking about is that it's meant to sort of imply the amnesia and general confusion that your own character is suffering as a consequence of this curse or whatever. So the fact that it doesn't make any sense how you're getting somewhere is just a reflection of your character not being able to remember what's going on from moment to moment.
Yeah, that's
really
actually
interesting. I hadn't thought about that.
We had a listener write in, and I'll just pull this from the appendix right here because it is apropos. Sean says via contact, I'm not sure where it came from, but I heard an interesting interpretation of why the paths between zones seem so short. Here's the idea. They are so barren and uneventful because you've become hollow enough that you don't remember the journey between zones. It might be the case that nothing interesting happens to you, or whatever did happen is simply forgotten. It puts the whole spacey-wacy layout of zones in a different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, interesting.
Mm-hmm. Which I like that. It turns the character into an unreliable narrator, which is fine by me, I think.
And especially looking at the global map of the whole land, these locations are pretty far from each other.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that map is definitely the other exhibit A and Exhibit B.
Mm-hmm. Have you guys checked out the the farfire.darksouls.com or something like that? It's the official from kind of thing, which it's interesting because it provides a bunch of data about, which enemies are killed and, which areas have
what's the most popular ring and things like that.
Yeah.
The top 3 most popular fist weapons are all cestises.
Yep.
It's the first thing too. So it's like most popular weapon is cestus.
Mustache.
But there's a little thing where you can check out which zones have co-op versus PvP, kind of like the ratio there. And when you highlight a particular zone, it actually puts an X over where these things are at, which is, I think, aside from remembering which bonfire you just lit and also remembering which fire on Kale's map is new, aside from that is the only way that I know of to map specific places to that Drangleic map.
Yeah.
Right? So
yeah,
that
super
actually bucked a couple of my assumptions about where stuff was.
And it's also like this is one of the biggest criticisms people are having of Dark Souls 2, which like I think it is fine if you like the interconnected world of Dark Souls 1 better. I think the implication that it's sloppy is a little bit annoying to me. Like it feels intentional to me. Like if you don't like it, that's great, But I don't think it's an accident. They're not that inept that they would do that, even if it's not all of the same people. Like.
Yeah, I mean, you got to imagine that somebody at From would have gone, "Hey, the elevator between this one place and the lava castle is a little weird, guys."
Yeah.
Are you sure it's not a bug that it goes up instead of down?
Yeah.
I feel like, and it just happens so often that like it is intentional, like it or not, it is intentional.
Yeah. And I'm a person who likes the interconnected world. Like I loved, seeing the map data and like looking that, oh yes, I am actually seeing Lost Izalith from the Tomb of the Giants. Like that is cool. That is something I really like about it. But I think that, they are two different things they are trying for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely think so. Lest anyone accuse us of being, kind of white knighting the game. Like it is I understand why you not like it, but I don't think, yeah. No Man's Wharf, where we're at now, which doesn't have tons of lore, but what's there I think is pretty neat. It is kind of disconnected in some ways from most of the areas. And this was, we know many kingdoms have risen and fallen on this land. And prior to this, this was a naval base. But once Vendrick took over, he enslaved these Varangians, who are kind of a Viking, they all wear Dovahkiin hats.
Yeah.
Pirate race.
Yes.
Yep,
Viking pirates. What could be better?
And they're explicitly slave labor. Like the item descriptions say that they have been forced into this.
Yeah.
But after the kingdom kind of fell into ruin, the inmates are running the asylum. And
Yeah, and they're doing what they do best. And it's funny because even though they are hollow, according to the stats, they are serving their purpose. They are inhabiting this place as best they know how, right?
Well, in a way, like I got the impression that this area was meant for like a port to imprison cursed people, and I feel like they probably weren't made to kill people originally.
No, like they were meant to like tend the port, actually like to work it. And at least under Vendrick's rule, like this is the waypoint after he decided to, again with the Holocaust imagery, after he decided to take everybody who had the curse and funnel them out to a far off land. This was the place that he decided to do it through.
Yeah. I guess I just got hung up when you said like they are still doing their job when they're hollow, because instead they're just trying to kill you.
Oh no, I mean by doing their job, I mean like pillaging.
Yeah,
right.
Their old job.
Yeah, the one that they were bred to do.
Their high school job.
Yeah, exactly. There's a whole just cave full of Taco Bells.
Yeah. I was going to bring up Taco Bell too. That was my first job. Yeah.
Oh, but yeah, it's I think that it's really neat. God damn it! Why do I have this verbal tick? It's notable that it connects to Hade and the Blue Cathedral. Just because, you have these, this one area that is sacred or fraught with sacred kind of iconography connected to, the Yo-Ho-Ho village.
Yeah. And going from the very, the rich, the mosaics and the palatial sort of architecture to this slum it's a dramatic, shifting of gears.
Yeah. And
I'm sorry, Cole. Go ahead.
You can see just how the dwellings have metastasized up the wall of the cave.
Mm-hmm.
Like they are seeking without any kind of order ways to fit more people into this area.
Yeah. Well, I think that between the two zones this connects to, it connecting to Hade feels like an intentional tonal shift, and the connection to the Bastille feels like the actual connection between the world, because you take a different route there. Like the fact that you take a ship there and that implies, infinite, both ways you get to the Bastille imply, travel that could take any amount of time, as opposed to just walking through something that doesn't make sense.
Right.
So I feel like the two ways that you get the Bastille, either through the Eagle Crow or through the ship, are the ways that people actually got to the Bastille. in the world without, spacey wastiness aside. Whereas the going from Hades to this felt like spacey wastiness, but also very jarring and effective, just in kind of building that contrast of the world.
Yeah. And I think that there might be some kind of like tonal connection, however weak, between the fact that Malin, the armor dealer, says, yeah, these Blue Sentinels are like organized crime dudes. That might actually be like a link to the port, with the port and all of the kind of the crime and let's say smuggling that goes alongside it. Like that connection might be older even than Vendrick, right?
Right.
That's an interesting point. Yeah, so that might be like an old smuggler's tunnel leading from the one place to the other.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the whole let's drag people to the sacred place out of trying to get hope, and then use that to ensnare them further into a place that explicitly lacks it. Yeah, Shanghai them exactly.
Yeah, the Tower of Latria effect.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. So before we dive deeper in, Riff, you're kind of a special case among guests so far, in that you've not played either Dark Souls or Demon's Souls.
That's correct. This is my first Souls game.
Wow.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Wow. I, in fact, just this morning finished my my first playthrough. I beat the game about a week and a half ago, and then took a short break. And this morning I went back and tied up the loose ends and bought all my consumables, getting ready for New Game Plus. But it was about 150 hours and 4.5 million soul memory was my first game.
Yeah.
And about 570 deaths.
Wow.
That's intense.
I'm kind of afraid to check my deaths, actually, because mine might be equivalent to that with far fewer hours. So,
Yeah. But are you going to go back and play the other ones?
I might play Dark Souls 1. I am worried about the lack of the new feature where enemies stop spawning after a while, because that was such not so much a crutch, but sort of a mental guarantee that even if a particular area was really hard, I knew that I'd eventually be able to get through it just killing one guy at a time if I had to. Mm-hmm. And it never came down to that, but knowing that was possible, I feel like that saved me a lot of frustration. So I'm not sure. I don't know. We'll see. I might just get it because, it's an old game. It's probably not expensive to see how it goes. Yeah. But that, and also if I, in the situations where I was having real trouble with a boss, like Lost Sinner, for example, I could spend some time clearing a path to the boss so that I could try over and over again without having to stumble through all these dudes again every time. Yeah. And that was such a convenience that it might be kind of painful to do without that. But we'll see.
By way of encouragement, Dark Souls 2 is much harder than Dark Souls 1.
Really?
And also, you having been through Dark Souls 2, you've picked up the necessary vocabulary, I believe. Don't hold me to this if you end up being frustrated at Blight Talon or whatever. Damn it! Dashed upon the rocks. No, but you probably will have less. That won't be as much of an issue for you.
Okay, cool.
Going back through it, so that is my word of encouragement for you.
Yeah, I'm glad you pointed that out, though, Cole, because that is pretty unique. I don't think I've talked to anybody who's just played this one yet. And a lot of those features that you're talking about, at least were in part implemented, as an anti-frustration feature for new players. So it's interesting to hear that it worked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I feel like that was the way that's so two-sided, in that it makes things easier by making things less frustrating, but also makes things harder by preventing prolonged grinding. Mm-hmm. is real interesting to me. That you can grind a spot for a while, but eventually the game kicks you in the butt and says, all right, get on with it.
Yeah.
And then again, if you really want to keep grinding an area, you can burn an ascetic and do it anyway, except you're taking the hit that everything's harder now. Mm-hmm. So it's super interesting.
Yeah. It seems very well considered, and everything relies on that number. How do they decide that 12 to 15 was the optimal, repetition loop for that? But I bring up that tidbit A because it's interesting and that it's unique for the show, and B because you approached us like we had extended I believe an offer to you for Demon's Souls, to show up on the show because I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, and I was like,
and then you
thanks, but
Later, boners.
And
is that the sound of my motorized skateboard going away into the sunset?
Whatever small motored vehicle you want.
Motorboat.
Jet ski.
No.
Motorcycle, moped. You said like, oh, can I do No Man's Wharf?
Yes,
and,
I specifically emailed you about this because I'll explain in more detail when we get to that part in the zone. But there is something specific in this zone that tickled me so greatly that may be the funniest, best thing I've ever seen a developer do in a video game. And I was like, all right, I've got to talk about this on some podcast. Oh, wait.
If only there were a podcast to talk about Dark Souls.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's
and
keep
we'll
going.
hear what
so
that
we can
thing
get
is
there. Yeah.
after this break. That's not true.
Okay.
We don't take breaks. On your way here, you get your only bonfire for the area, which I think this is the only area in the game where this is true. Mm-hmm. Like there is one bonfire, which I like about it. This part that feels very Dark Souls 1 to me.
There are other places with a single bonfire, but
well, not quite as big as this, maybe.
Yeah.
Like this is.
Yeah,
I mean,
this is certainly the one where you have to take the longest path from the bonfire to the boss, I think.
Yeah. And right around this bonfire is when we meet Lucatiel.
Mm-hmm. I actually met her first at the Bastion or Bastille.
Bastille.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I took the Eagle after the Pursuer and met her in that tower there, and then after noodling around in there for a while and deciding it was too hard. I came back and went the other way.
No, I was just going to say I did the same thing. I think this is canonically the first place you're supposed to meet her, but I met her at the Bastille first.
I'm fascinated by this notion that, according to a good portion of the people that we've talked to, and just encountered on the internet, that No Man's Wharf is effectively an optional area.
Oh, it's totally an optional area,
and I feel like it totally can be, but I don't see that as being the likely or the canonical version of this. And it's so instructive. I think like this area, I can't see missing it.
Oh, of course. I would never not play it. But it's optional. Same that happens in Dark Souls 1 too, where there are really cool areas that are totally optional. I really like.
Plus, you want that pyromancy glove.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I really like Lucatiel. She is the Solaire equivalent, along with Pate here, right? I think they share double duty on that kind of thing. And she has kind of one of the more tragic arcs because she's here for a couple of different reasons. Both of we'll talk about that later. But it eventually becomes real sad.
Yeah. The ending of her quest is sad. Mm-hmm. When you first meet her, she just pretty much says that people usually stay away from her because of the mask. Which you get the impression that, and kind of through this, you get it more as you continue, but you get the impression even a little bit here, that she is implying, reliably or not, that she does not know what hollowing is. Mm-hmm. And that is why I think she's wearing the mask, is she is in some kind of deep denial about what's happening to her.
Yeah, it takes her a little while to open up to the fact that she's hollow. I mean, of course, she is because she's in Drangleic. She came here for
a long time. She explicitly says she doesn't know what it is. Mm-hmm. She's I came here looking for my brother. I don't know. She gives you a human effigy at some point. She says, "Of course, I don't know what this is."
Yeah, I read that,
but she knows what it is.
I read that as being that she wasn't told what it was. That maybe there's this whole thing where the crones only told you. The Firekeepers only told you what they do and not anybody else, which I understand is completely wackadoodle, but that's the way that I interpreted it. I could see there being this kind of institutional ignorance about what these things actually are. Yeah.
It would make sense that not everybody goes through things betwixt. I mean, it didn't seem like a well-traveled area.
Yeah, those gnolls
that's
seem
interesting.
really well fed. Good.
The only reason why I would think like that's an interesting idea, and it would explain why she progressively goes more and more hollow. When she says it, she does one of those Dark Souls unreliable narrator laughs, though.
Yeah, she
Like,
does.
she's like, of course I don't know what it is.
Yeah, true.
Like she just handed you a bomb, like she's a Looney Tune, and she just like thrust up a female cursed undead out of dynamite and wed you to it.
You know, and I think that like this game more than the others kind of plays into the everybody believes that souls will reverse your hollowing kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like in Demon Souls, it was more like you get souls to be powerful, which makes sense because it's leveling up. And in Dark Souls, it's like alluded to, like you get more souls, disregard women, be hollow, be not hollow. Sorry. And in this one, it is explicitly stated by a bunch of NPCs, like, yes, the way to reverse your hollowing is to get more souls. And like human effigies are never like entered into the equation as much as humanity in Dark Souls 1 is. Right.
They're very, very rarely mentioned as a thing. I think the Crones and Lucatiel, and I think that's really all the dialogue about them in the whole game. So the idea of it being, not a well-known kind of cure for this is really interesting. I like that idea a lot. I don't know if they're everywhere, and it'd be kind of weird and there are a lot of, you don't run into very many other people who are hollow, which would support that, people do know what these things are, but it is really interesting.
Yeah.
Because they're emphasized far, far less.
Either they're seeing it as rubbish or everybody's getting a different version of the story.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know. It's an interesting thing to play around with. I don't know if it's borne out, but that is where I arrived at with her kind of, and eventually I don't know if somebody like breaks the news to her and tells her like, yeah, your skin's falling off because you're totally hollow.
Yeah, no. When's the last time you took off that mask?
Yeah.
Like if you're a leper, you have to do, there's something like it's called like constant visual surveillance or something like that. There's actually a term for it in the leprosy community, where you
they have like a BB forum.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to loveyouTopieces.net and I was posting on the boards. And but it is a thing where
sloths.
Yeah. But it is a thing where you're constantly checking your body to see if everything's okay. And she doesn't do that. She wears this mask.
Mm-hmm. And she, like all the other kind of hollows, are slowly forgetting who they. She's forgetting who she is. Right?
Yeah. She's also notable. I think she is the most well-rounded NPC you run into in the game, which really says something about, like, as much as I love Dark Souls too, I do feel like the NPCs did kind of take a dip in interest and quality between the games. Like, I like the Dark Souls 1 NPCs generally a lot more.
Yeah.
This is one of the few that I think kind of match.
Yeah.
Or approach the level of Dark Souls 1 NPCs. And that's going to be illustrated a little bit later in this zone.
She gives like more backstory on like where she came from, and that is something that, like, along with the NPCs, I feel took a dip from Dark Souls 1 to Dark Souls 2. Like Dark Souls 1, you got a fair amount of knowledge about the neighboring kingdoms, and I think Dark Souls 2 kind of like mentions them, but and it may just be like that I haven't grown familiar with them yet. But they are like the surplus fantasy names with lots of Y's and V's in them.
It's actually. It's interesting that you bring that up because there's actually, I felt, a lot more item descriptions that talk about other places. Mm-hmm. And one of the Dark Souls YouTube loresters, who goes by Dave Control, I'll put a link in the show notes. He did a 2-part video that is like the places surrounding Drangleic and just compiles everything we know about them. And it's actually pretty interesting. Like,
okay.
It's a little bit more I don't blame you for coming to that conclusion because the characters don't talk about it as much. I mean, they'll say I'm from somewhere, but there are a lot of item descriptions that are from other areas, which is part of the reason why I think this is, even though it has lots of Lordranian items, I don't necessarily think it's Lordran because there are items from everywhere here.
Right. Yeah, so it kind of seems like the low point that all the gravity grabs everything and brings it to. And I don't know if we can underline it enough, but like specifically for our purposes, and anybody else who's curious about this, the Future Press guide is worth having, even with its typos and misprints, because of the lore index that actually like organizes things by NPC and location and tells you like which items are related to which thing. So that has, I think, cut my pre-production time by about 20%. So
yeah, Epic Namebro mentions in a video, since he worked on the guide, that he and the other kind of lorester that worked on the guide had to push for that, and they weren't even going to have item descriptions; they were just going to have item stats.
Oh wow!
And he pushed for it. He's like, and they made expanded the length of the book like 80 pages to do that.
Yeah. Well, like the item stats are more bound to change than the descriptions. Like that's the
Oh,
more
yeah,
valuable piece of
exactly.
information.
Totally. Yeah, but let's talk about No Man's Wharf.
Oh gosh.
Let's get into the wharf.
I want to so much.
Yeah, this is a great area too. Like just getting that out there. Like I would have, if I was guesting on the show instead of hosting it, I might have picked this area too. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
So it's super good.
I mean, just immediately coming at it from, just having, thought about Dark Souls and Demon Souls a lot over the past year and a half, like it's so different than anything else.
Yeah.
In terms of what you've seen, what areas you've seen before this, like the Forest of Fallen Giants it's elaborate and mazy, but it's mainly corridors, and Tower of Flame is just single paths to platforms. So this is the first one you're seeing that's really a sort of complicated mess of an area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It definitely has that visual and kind of layout stamp. It also is the first area you find in the game that has a very strong kind of concept behind it.
Yeah.
Like the idea of light in this place, and like the idea of kind of ambush is really strong here in a way that it's not in areas you've been leading up to, in a way that made me think of the earlier games where like, we used to in Dark Souls 1 season, we had like a thesis for each area because like every area felt like it was trying to teach you something. This game, I feel a little less about that. I feel like that's a little less true, but this area definitely feels like it is, kind of, it's designed for the earlier kind of engines of this game where the torch was necessary a lot more often. Mm-hmm. Because this is the section to say like, yeah, you've been using the torch because it makes things easier to see. Well, fuck you. That's going to be a double-edged sword,
Yeah, like this turns the torch from a necessary thing into like a nice to have, especially when you see some of those later areas, those Darkstalkers, right? Like it's almost like an Easter egg,
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I don't know if I'm like crazy about the gameplay benefits of like, this automatically turns it into the gutter where you need it, to actually progress or to have some kind of light source. But I would like to like aesthetically, because I think the contrast between, unlit wharf and lit wharf would just be so much more significant at that point.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it's more than just the change it into a gameplay benefit. Like they use it against you in a way that doesn't happen in the gutter with these Varangian pirates.
Oh,
who, throw, you have the torch on and they'll throw oil on you and blow you up.
Yeah.
Which, like, the first time that happened, I was like, yes. That's so good.
Yeah. That happened to me as well. The guy throws the thing, he's like, why am I covered in ooze? And then a guy shoots an arrow at me. Oh my God!
Nobody loves oily Homer.
Yeah, he's keep getting sent to Burning Man over and over and over again. Like, like the first time I did it, I was coated in oil and I didn't have my torch because I didn't carry it from the bonfire. I didn't know how dark the area would be.
Right.
And since it was pretty dark, I walked up to the torch, the first one you run into, and lit my torch, and this blew up. And I'm like, oh, it's because I'm coated in oil.
Yeah,
that's wonderful.
So
why did that guy throw low damage bombs at me? Like,
you know what? I never considered that because I never thought to light the torch in this area. Like, yeah, it was dark, but it was never dark enough that I like couldn't see. And I've got my TV calibrated and stuff, so that's not a concern so much. Mm-hmm. So yeah, like I never thought of that, but that is totally badass to hear that they took that into account.
Yeah, for sure. Like, yeah,
because I saw the oil as just a demonstration of enemies will use teamwork on you.
Yeah, same here basically. Because I did much the same as you. I shuffled around in the dark until I found that Pharaoh's Lockstone contraption and turned on all the lights. Mm-hmm. And then after that, I was like, lights.
Yeah.
So
one of the most useful Pharaoh's Lockstones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
Kind of the first half where every one of them is useful, and the second half where none of them are useful.
Yeah.
And it also nicely, because assuming that you found the one previous in Grave of the Fallen Giants, where you get treasure, you don't get any items out of this one, but it's sort of instructing you the fact that, not all treasure is necessarily items, that
mm-hmm.
light or other effects can be just as useful to you.
Yeah. Yep. That's something that I wish that they had, extended throughout. Like, I don't know if I wish that every area had a gimmick like this. And you see it pop up, occasionally with, like, altering the boss arenas in areas like Earthen Peak or whatever. But, like, this is just such a good example of how one particular thing can change the entire zone.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that is, one of those moments of singular delight, which is like, I have no idea what's going to happen here, and the payoff is just so much greater than you would have expected.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's also just very, striking to see. Mm-hmm. Like seeing it if you hadn't been using a torch up to this point, seeing the kind of detail of this rundown shanty town, and knowing, by this point, when you come to that, you may or may not have run into the long-armed Darkstalker monsters. So knowing that you have this one-up is so good.
Yeah.
Like it is just it is a very, very welcome surprise.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I feel like the Varangian soldiers, the sailors at the very least, are worth talking about just a little bit, because you find them throughout this. They're kind of the, in Dark Souls and in Demon Souls, you have like the regular Dreglings and like the crazy hollowed dudes, and then you've got like the hollow infantry, which are more equipped. Like this seems a step above that. And specifically, I believe this is the first enemy that dual wields against you.
Yeah.
And so learning to fight against that rhythm is something that really threw me off. And I think, made this area much tougher on the first approach than on the second approach.
They're the equivalent of like Baldur Knights.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it happens around the same place in the game too. Mm-hmm. It would be.
But I like these guys. And again, like teamwork and ambushes, right? And, throughout the entire area, like it enforces, make sure that you're clearing the houses, because not all of them have treasures, but you can get yourself into a world of trouble if you believe that you're safe.
Yeah.
And they're going to come up from behind you. And because of the kind of, narrow, the narrow aspect of these walkways, it can really get you in trouble.
Yeah, they will definitely jump out of unexpected places at you.
Yeah. I love that house over by the Pharos Lockstone that is just full of napping dudes.
I was just going to say, like, that. Yeah, if they're on shift, then they will jump out at you. But some of them, like, they work in shifts.
Yeah, that was great. Peeking my head in that door and going, "Oh, I bet I can put a firebomb right in here."
Yeah. There's 3 guys playing Heads Up 7-Up, and I'm going to fuck up their game.
Oh my god! How long has it been since I thought about Heads Up 7-Up? Also known as identify your friend's shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. But you find the bandit gear, which seems appropriate for that. We always like to point out whenever we find the starting class gear in different areas, which makes sense. Port, smugglers,
sure,
yep. Viking dudes, whatevs.
Bandits.
Yeah. But also worth talking about. See, I skirted around it there. Is the fact that the ones with bows have incredibly long range.
Yeah.
And because of the way that this kind of is built up the slope of this of this area, just go onto the Wikipedia entry for underground cities and just like look at photos of those, or like underground ossuaries, or that crazy Polish salt mine that has the cathedrals carved away inside of it. One of the best like photo diary things they're ever going to see. But just because of the way that this area is sloped, almost everybody's going to have a sniper advantage on you, and that eventually turns to your advantage if you're a ranged character at the top of there.
Yeah, or if you're a ranged character and you can get a hold of one of these bows.
Yeah.
Because that range advantage carries over. There's no place to find one of these bows. You have to get it as a drop, but it's a really good bow.
Yeah.
And the item description says it has a long range for fighting sea monsters.
Yep.
Which made me wish that there was a sea monster in this game.
Is it metal?
Yeah, it is metal.
Oh my gosh, like fighting the Lagos monster in Resident Evil 4?
Oh yeah.
Like that kind of set piece fight?
Yeah, well, we're doing, at the same time we're recording this, we're doing Shadow of the Colossus for Watch Out for Fireballs.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking about, like, huge, big underwater bosses have been on my mind, so. Yeah.
Game needs more monsters, anyway. Too many dudes, not enough crazy things.
That's probably true.
Yeah, that is something that I agree with, actually, and I've seen in lots of places. But yeah. Mm-hmm. But you're working your way up this hill, and as you rise higher, things start getting darker, and you start finding things that prefer the dark, including these Darkstalker enemies, which have nothing to do with what is it, that Capcom fighter?
Yeah, with that bat winged.
Yeah, Morgan and Lilith.
Yeah, that unfortunate boob monster.
Yeah,
from that fighting game.
Yeah. I remember that was they had a machine of that at my bowling alley, and that was like I don't want to say a formative sexual experience, because that makes me feel that makes me sound like weirder than I actually am. But that was definitely one of my first encounters with cartoon cleavage, and
it might have been one of the first sets of boobs you've seen where the cleavage went past where a nipple would actually be.
Probably, yeah. It was a deep dive. It was a deep dive. Yeah. So that was that. I think we need to get control of the media that our kids are exposed to, because today's youth is garbage. I'm an old man.
I wish that they learned sex from Capcom Fighters the way that I did.
And not from Kesha.
Yeah, not from Snapchatting pictures of their ball nuts.
Yeah.
And
Snapchatting snatch pics? Come on.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Knock it out, you kids.
Knock it out. Don't do that.
We skipped over something on our way up to the Darkstalker that I think is worth talking about, because it'll can impact the entire game, which is this is the first area where you can find a Ring of Life protection.
Yes. It's behind a bookcase. You gotta bust it down, but this works really differently than it did in previous games that had equivalent rings.
Yep. And the reason why is because durability works so differently. Things are meant to be broken, whereas it was a pretty rare and terrible occurrence in Dark Souls 1. And it's also not irreversible now.
Yeah.
So the idea is that if you want to wear this ring, if you want to give up a ring slot and are willing to spend a 3,000 soul tax, you can stay human and not lose your souls when you die, which I've seen lots of people complain about. I didn't like that, and then just didn't do it.
Yeah.
Like, I only used it if I had a lot of souls and I was like, okay, I'm going to do something dangerous. I'll throw this thing on.
Yeah.
But I never just kept repairing it.
That was how I started out at the beginning when 3,000 souls was a meaningful amount. As I got to like the latter half of the game, it got to where in order to do anything with souls, like to level up, I needed an amount that was always going to be a significant amount. So I ended up just sort of keeping that ring on. And also, since I was sunbrowing it up a lot, it was handy to keep human with, so that I wouldn't have to keep busting effigies to have jolly cooperation.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, as I ran low on effigies, I was definitely in Rift's camp on that, just because that was a very cheap way. Essentially, it was, hey, get an effigy, get unlimited effigies for 3,000 souls for the minor inconvenience of loading, every time you die. Right.
I don't look down on anybody who did it that way, but I just wanted it to be like, I wanted to hit that point of no return that we talked about so many times in Dark Souls, or the point where you have nothing left to lose. And I felt like I could only get, with that 3,000 soul cost, and with just kind of the, I wanted to be able to rapidly prototype situations. And that only happened when I was like at half health as a hollow with 0 souls, and I'd already lost my bloodstain. And then it's like, I have nothing to lose. I'm just going to keep trying things until they work.
Yeah, the ability to do a suicide run to see what's out there is definitely something that you lose by using this tactic.
Yeah. And, I feel like eventually what that does is it makes the only cost for this, inconvenience. Which it's up to the individual to decide if that's worth it to them.
Yeah. And it doesn't, I don't feel like it ruins like there have been a lot of hyperballistic missiles that have been launched towards hyperbolic.
Everybody pray. Let's hope we can get this edited and out in time so everybody can take cover.
Tell my girlfriend I love her. A lot of hyperbolic kind of talk about how it's so contrary to the soul spirit, and it's like, it reminded me of the Vita Chambers discussion in BioShock, where it's like, just if you like the challenge, just have a little bit of self control and don't use it.
Yeah,
like I don't, just don't use it. It's okay. It doesn't hurt you that it's there for somebody else. Just don't use it. Enjoy your extra ring slot.
Yeah, do it. Like, you're sacrificing a great deal, because there are many rings that are effectively compulsory. So you're giving up something that is, that is very worthwhile in order to do this.
Yeah.
I feel like it is a significant enough trade-off.
Yeah.
And at the max, I only had 3 of these going at any given time. And none of them were particularly easy to find. Like, this one here in No Man's Wharf isn't exactly on the beaten path.
Right. All right.
Yeah.
But let's talk about Darkstalkers.
Yeah, let's do that.
Oh, these bastards. These frightening bastards.
These frightening and then eventually frightened bastards.
Yeah. Yeah, that is so good. Like, the first time, because I didn't initially have a torch because I got set on fire by lighting one early, and getting to that, that revelation is great. I also had a weird, I still feel like treasure is kind of fucked up in Dark Souls 2, and they're probably going to change it, where everybody can drop anything. Like there are those dogs outside of Aldea's Keep that just drop Ricard's rapiers like they're nothing.
Oh yeah, getting Zweihanders off of those spiders. Yeah,
yeah. This Zweihander after Zweihander. So, but this I encountered these guys before I thought that. So the first one dropped a pair of boots, and I was like, shit, these used to be human. Mm-hmm. Because that's the Demon Souls thing. Like, oh, somebody drops a human piece of gear. It definitely used to be a person. Now I'm not so sure. Like it's vaguely bipedal. It could have used to be a human, but if spiders are dropping Zweihanders, that piece of evidence has less weight.
The guide does mention that the gear that they drop is pyromancer gear.
It's the full
maybe
pyro
there
set.
is some kind of tie-in to the fact that they're afraid of light, but
what did you say, Cole? What do they drop?
It's the full pyro set. I'm sorry to have interrupted you, Rev.
Sorry.
Yeah, but it's like it's all the tattered cloth gear and then the regular boots. Like if you put that on, you are a pyromancer from Dark Souls 1.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes way more sense. I've only found the boots from them.
Yeah.
Like the boots and a short sword, which the pyromancer doesn't use.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, oh, short sword. This is just random garbage, like short sword boots.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but so I mean, I don't believe that these are like the ultimate evolution. Like this isn't the Charizard of pyromancers.
Well, especially since Charizard is the Charizard of pyromancers.
Yep.
Really,
Yep.
Charmander is the original pyromancer.
If I could have gotten beyond that, then yes, I would have gotten there eventually.
Sorry.
That's all right. Don't worry. You saw where I was going and you called it out. That's good. As long as the joke was made, it doesn't matter who made it. But yeah, so I don't know if they're eventually like, you know, if somebody grabbed them and warped them. I mean, I think that all of this we can like foist on Aldea, you know, just the fact that, you know, the boss of this area, the Flexile Sentry, was commissioned for this.
Yeah.
Like this could be an experiment gone awry. But as Rip said, like the guide also says these things are so afraid of fire that they could have, you know, been seeking out pyromancers who created the one thing they were afraid of. Right.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And there is a connection to pyromancy in this level too.
Mm-hmm.
So to a degree.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
They cause tons of bleed. Like they're a hard fight. Unless you have that torch, and then they cower from you for a time, and then do one of my favorite animations in the game, which is where they like get fed. Like, I'm fucking mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore. And then just turn on you ferociously, which I love. Like you can only keep them cornered so long, and the level design uses that later, where these things get stacked like 3 or 4 deep, and you know, even if you didn't want that combat advantage, you need the light because otherwise you can't fight 4 of these things at once. Mm-hmm. And then out of the corner of your eye, one of them starts freaking out and then goes aggro, and it's a really good moment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then they're vaguely bat-like, and they kind of move like the giant skeletons from Tomb of the Giants, just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're
the bone dogs.
Yeah. They're very upsetting.
Yeah.
But yeah, and also they will burst through walls, which again plays into the destructible environments. Holy
that was one of my favorite things in this level is that the house where you're fighting tons of them. Mm-hmm. You have to fight like 3 of them, and then there's a door. And I thought, oh, these guys are too wide to fit through that door.
We'll make a wider door.
Yeah. And then managed to beat those 2 and go into the room, and one falls out of the ceiling on me.
Through a perfectly Darkstalker-sized hole. I love the idea of these guys making nests inside of something that is already like vaguely honeycomb-esque.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Just like
even though like the relationship between them and the bandits, you don't know what it is. Like they're definitely not. Well, you see the ones that are kind of in little gates down by the waterfront.
Yeah.
Later, like you get the idea of these things being kind of pets or like work animals almost.
Yeah, there's that cage that the 2 of them.
Yeah.
Out of.
Or like a pen. It's not even like it's not closed in, but it's like it's like a feeding trough kind of thing.
Maybe it's like an Innsmouth thing. Like they are nurturing it like it is the ultimate, you know, like the ultimate form of this. Like these are.
This is the female of the.
Yeah,
the
kind of like, or it's like a long live the new flesh kind of thing, you know. Yeah, like
level 11 Innsmouth brides. Yeah,
but these things are just real sons of bitches. Have we had to deal with bleed up to this point?
It was definitely my first.
It's the first time I got blood out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there might have been something that caused minor bleed earlier, but this is the first time it happened
Yeah.
for me.
I don't know. Like, bleed just always seems like one of those PvP status effects that I only ever encounter when somebody is using a curved blade.
Yeah, well, notably in Dark Souls 1, Priscilla uses it against you.
Yeah.
And that's really, like, that is the time where you're going to run into it a lot. Other than that, you pretty much can ignore it.
It's an interesting effect. I think this may be like the first time I've seen something like this in a game, because everybody knows what poison is, but this is like poison except all at once.
Mm-hmm.
It's unusual and frightening.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
I forget, Gary. You're gonna have to remind me. In the previous games, did it slow you down when you were bled? Because I think that happens here too.
I don't think it happens in Dark Souls 1. I think you just lose a large chunk of health. In Demon Souls, bleed acts just like poison. And there's no reason for there to be 3 different poison effects in Demon Souls. But in Dark Souls 1, I think you just I don't think it slows you down. In here, it slows you down and slows down your endurance regen, I believe. So you take a large amount of damage and you are slowed a little bit and your endurance regen is slowed if you get bled.
Okay. Yeah. So that, like, and I'm trying to recall, like, this is such a big game. Like, does it pop up in any kind of, like, greater effect later, or is this, Bleed City?
I think these are the bleediest.
Okay.
There are other enemies that cause bleed, but this is where it procced on me.
Blood Town.
Yeah, this is Bloodstool.
Totes Blood Town.
With yeah.
Listen to Abject Suffering tomorrow for our tales. Or no, actually, no. Listen next week for... Oh, man, this has been a long recording session. So listen next week for deleted scenes about the lost kingdom of Bloodstool.
If you dare.
This is like the most well-guarded area here, but it also gives you a huge boon in that you can find Lonesome Gavlin.
Yay!
Yay.
Many deal. Many thanks.
If I know 2 things about Gavlin, it is but
like they had to make him knowing he'd be a meme.
Yeah, he is a ready-made meme. Well, he's such a piece of evidence, and I keep saying it, and it's just going to keep happening, that, like, Dark Souls 2 has a way different sense of humor than Dark Souls 1, in that, like, it's much more explicit, and this character is a huge part of that. Like, he is a meme, and he is, he's seems like he is a figure of fun. Like, I would love to see Vaati try to do the prepare to cry on Gavlin. Like, I want to know what this guy's tragic backstory is, because I don't fucking have a clue. You could do one on the Gurm. Like, the Gurm are kind of sad.
Yeah.
But Lonesome Gavlin specifically.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like the Gurm are just another, like, chapter in Dark Souls 2 is about the Holocaust, right?
Yeah. Yep.
like really, like, I'm gonna call him when I see him. But
is this cool? Previously, we compared everything to Vietnam. Now it's the Holocaust. Does this show that we are getting more or less mature?
You know what? I think that, Demon Souls 2 is going to be about World War I, and then it's going to really start getting kind of crazy.
Yeah, then it's all the Balkan powder keg and the Prussian War and the Armenian genocide, and we'll start getting really obscure.
Yep.
We'll take a correspondence history course together. And then
who needs a correspondence history course? World War I is amazing.
Yeah. Well, if we're gonna go deeper cuts,
right,
is the idea.
Right.
Man, now I want a Picklehauber for my Fashion Souls outfit.
Fashion Souls.
I love Fashion Souls.
What is Fashion Souls?
It's just the term for when you're paying more attention to how your character looks than how effective he is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
cool. I can be down with that.
Yeah, Fashion Souls is great.
I'm just picturing like lots of Let's Plays that are just like everything normal, but except Cover Girl is playing in the background the whole
time. Too sexy for my Zweihander.
Oh, man. But yeah, Gavlin, he wheel and Gavlin deal.
Yeah.
And he is special in this game because he has skirted it again. He is special in this game because he is the only NPC you can sell things back to. And he is a source of frustration for a lot of people because pretty much immediately after you talk to him, he goes away.
Yeah.
Yep. And I thought he was gone forever, which I was like, okay, you get one chance to sell things. That's kind of clever and, Dark Soulsy, but he comes back and eventually permanently roots himself somewhere.
Yeah.
So.
Somewhere logical too, which is nice.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he is a Gurm, which is contrary to everybody's beliefs, not a beard monster, but a dwarf.
Yeah, with a dumbly designed helmet.
Yeah.
And he sells a lot of really useful stuff.
Yeah, buy everything poison.
Yeah.
Oh man, but a significant fraction of my 4.5 million soul memory was poison arrows.
But it's so nice when you eventually can just buy unlimited
Yep.
poison arrows from them. But it takes a while. But even now, I always sell all of my broken straight swords and then just buy, I haven't done like a bow playthrough, so I just will buy poison throwing knives, but try to get 90, or try to buy all of them that he'll sell me right off the bat.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, they might as well be made of cheese.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
yeah, so buy all those. You kind of continue, further up into the place, and you end up to this platform that you get up to with a bell that you can ring. That in one of the coolest and is this metalist cutscenes in set piece things in Dark Souls history, which is this ghost ship showing up, and audible yes.
Can
for me,
something from the Goonies be considered metal?
It could totally be considered metal.
Okay.
One Eye Willie is so metal.
Yeah.
Oh man, and that organ made out of bones?
Yeah.
That
What
is
are you
the
talking about?
metalist
I
thing.
don't know.
Yeah.
I guess I'm equating Goonies with my childhood, and therefore I don't know. I've not revisited many things from my childhood that could be considered metal. So that is a prejudice on my part. I will defer to you guys.
Yeah, it's about criminals that keep their deformed brother locked up in the basement. It's super
Okay.
super metal.
I think your working knowledge of the Goonies is much richer than mine. So again, I defer.
Let's get him riff.
Pile on.
Come on.
Dog pile on coal.
Yeah.
The bell actually caused me some trouble because I did not spot that object was interactable. Mm-hmm. So I ended up killing every single thing in the entire zone and then wandering around the completely empty wharf wondering what I was supposed to do next. I didn't yet have the guide, so I ended up having to look it up on the wiki. But that was a bell.
I think that's something that's supposed to be helped a lot in the PC version with the higher resolution. And this and the pole chain you have to use actually to get down to Hades.
Yeah.
A lot of people miss that, and I think it stands out a lot better with that better graphic fidelity.
Am I the only person who's bothered by the fact that ringing this bell only causes the ship to move 40 feet? It's totally cool. I love that. It's lit up with these ghost lights on the mast and everything like that. I'm down. Trust me. I'm into the whole anarchy thing. But it moves 40 feet.
Well, I think the reason why. So the original purpose of this place to ferry undead out there. I can imagine a prison ship being parked off, so prisoners are not boarding it or anything.
Oh, like in international waters, yeah.
Yeah, we have a group rounded up for you. Mm-hmm. Come dock so we can put them on, and then you go. You don't spend time in dock so nobody tries to escape or anything. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of how I thought of that specifically. It is a little bit goofy, but
yeah,
that's once I figured out that this was a prison, port.
Yeah,
that kind of did for me. You can hit the bell with an arrow.
Yeah,
which
is
pretty cool.
I read but didn't immediately try to do. So I will take everything that I've read's word for it.
I've seen a YouTube of it.
Okay,
so yeah. I guess it could have been a very elaborate fake.
Somebody with Premiere and After Effects could have totally done that.
Yeah, it's just a guy saying "ding."
Yeah,
it's like a let's play.
Yeah, it cuts to a guy with a mustache, ding. Just back to the Dark Souls.
Yeah. But this puts you at the very top of the zone, and usually, a lot of zones that you're in, are at least vertically kind of a one-way either ascent or descent. Mm-hmm. And so this is a little bit different from everything else that you've seen in that it requires you to go up and then back down to water level again.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, this is the point where I had the big "I love this game" moment.
Okay.
So, and you guys may not have even noticed this because I think this is a trap for new players that experienced Soulsers may not even pick up on. But what I really love in a game is traps, right?
Yeah.
So, and the best kind of trap is a mind fuck, like a good double bluff, or just something that plays with your conceptions of what's going on and your sort of meta conceptions of what the devs are likely to pull on you. And so immediately after the bell, you're on that roof and you're looking down to the roof of the next building. And that building is bordered on one side by the building you're standing on, and on two sides by the cave wall, and the fourth side is just open. And you can see that that's probably not a drop that you can survive. So you're looking at this roof going, if I go down there, it doesn't look like there's any way back without dying. But there's treasure down there. There's the blue glowy down there. So you're asking yourself, would the devs put treasure in a place that I couldn't get out of afterwards? And if you're like me, you think probably they wouldn't. This game has a reputation of being tough but fair. I don't think that they would put treasure in a fatal location. So you jump down there and you walk across the roof to the opposite corner and you pick up the treasure, and it's 2 life gems and a homeward bone. So I thought, you sons of bitches, I totally fell into your trap. And this is you saying, ha ha ha, gotcha. But because we're nice guys, we're going to literally throw you a bone. So here's a homeward bone so you can get back to the bonfire with your souls intact. But if you use it, you fucked yourself, because that's the trap. Because what you're supposed to do is turn around 180 degrees and go look underneath the ledge that you jumped down from, where it's fairly well concealed, the next ledge that you're supposed to drop down to get out of here. And I was that close to falling for it because I already had homeward bones on my use item list. And I had clicked down to it and then said, wait a minute. And I'd better check a little more carefully first.
Fuck yourself out of the shortcut. That's great. Yeah, that's really funny.
Wow. Like, what I thought you were going to say was, the obvious ledge to jump off of puts you in a really bad position because it does a bunch of damage to you, and it puts you right in the reach of a couple of Darkstalkers that could get you. That is like 5 levels more cerebral than I would have gone for that.
Yeah, I wish there had been more of that kind of thing in the game. There's a little bit more, like there's that don't pull this lever in the keep later on.
Oh yeah.
But that was also really good. But
yeah,
I love that part.
Yeah,
that's maybe my favorite zone in the game. I'm really looking forward to talking about it.
Me too.
Oh, the keep.
Yeah, but like you're absolutely right, because as people who've been around this block just a little bit, like I'm a kind of a nerd to where homeward bones show up a little bit. Like I don't see that as a signpost that says, "Hey, turn back."
Yeah, and plus you guys are used to like exploring every nook and cranny,
right? Yeah,
so, and this is also the first. It's sort of like this is the first level in the game where they really start playing tricks on you, because the Tower of Flame is completely just linear path, and Forest of Fallen Giants is, it's less linear, but there's nothing really tricky about it. Whereas in this one, they pull this, and they've got the arm monsters that will totally rip off that door frame to get at you, and just bunches of different stuff they play on you. You have to stay on your toes now. Like, this is the tutorial level for the devs hate you.
It's like they take it up to a different level, right?
Yeah.
I hate that cliche, but it takes it from something purely mechanical to, we're going to use your assumptions about the mechanics against you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that
So
is That is a satisfying answer to why you love this area. Wow. Huh. Yeah.
And then, here looking at your notes, the next thing you've got is a thing that I did not discover until this morning, actually, when I went looking to see if there was any last locations that I might squeeze out another Twinkling Titanite. And it turned out there was not. This was, which let me digress from this for a second. Are Crystal Lizard inventories random or set?
I think so. It's interesting. I think they're both in this one. I could be wrong about that. I know that they are set to a degree because, if you want, like, for example, like the Dark Night Stone is only in the gutter and or it's the gutter or Black Gulch, but there's one place where you can get that one. But I also think there is a random element to it. It might just be the numbers that are random.
Maybe they're picking from a list the way the crows do.
Yeah, but you're guaranteed, the one that's, I know actually where it's at. It's right before the gutter. You're guaranteed to get a Dark Night Stone from that one. So I think there are guaranteed elements and then random elements. Yeah. So I could be wrong about that. It's at least to a degree guaranteed.
But there's this. Why I mentioned that is that there's this crystal lizard behind the false wall here. Which is this the only false wall in the game that you smash down with your weapon instead of tapping X? Because I think that's why I didn't find it.
I didn't find it until late either. I'm kind of racking my brain to see if there are other ones though.
Because there's if you assuming that you've learned from earlier locations about how hidden walls work in this game, then you're likely to never find this one unless you figured out the noise that the crystal lizards make.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. I mean, and it goes into the thing of, again, this level being the we're going to trick the hell out of you level.
Yeah.
But they do a similar thing with a sound cue with enemies later in the dragon area with those rattling, exploding things where know that it's there, but you don't know where it's at. If you don't actually seek it out, it will ambush you.
Yep.
So, yeah.
I don't know. I have trouble ascribing intentionality to that just because the game does kind of go back and forth on whether or not certain areas require you to press X or to attack or, specifically as regards Pharos Lockstones and stuff like that. So this being a different one almost seems like an unintentional inconsistency rather than them, intentionally playing tricks on you.
Yeah, I can't tell. I don't necessarily love the choice of having so many different ways of there being secret walls and secret walls being indistinguishable from regular walls. I'm not real into that. Yeah. In this game, if the only thing I can think of, and it reminds me of illusory walls, and the first one is that it's orange soapstone bait.
Yeah.
It is just evidence someone's going to stumble across it and they're relying on players to help each other out and have that fun feeling of someone showed me this cool secret.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That, and if I'm remembering this correctly, the wall texture is different too. It does that Resident Evil thing of this wall's been plastered over.
Yeah. When I found it, I definitely did say, "Oh yeah, there it is."
Yeah. But just the fact that previous to this, if you had seen a damaged wall, you had to blow it up with gunpowder, or you just it wasn't a damaged wall and it just rose from the sky. They're just weird pocket doors. I never actually realized that. I wonder where those doors go if the geometry allows for that. For those doors to actually sink up into the ceiling like that. But it's not my favorite thing. They do that. I like the idea of the crystal lizard being a key. I didn't find this until way late, and it frustrated me because the ring that you get, that Royal Soldier's ring, is really useful. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Anywho, you're making your way down to here. You find that shortcut area where you can pull that chain. If you're human, there is a Lucatiel summon sign here, which is starting her tradition of her summon sign being far away from the boss with lots of hazards between you and her and the boss.
Yes. Give her lots of opportunities to jump off of a cliff.
To drown.
In this area, which is nothing but hazardous terrain.
Yeah. Lucatiel is not very competent.
No.
I think I was talking to Vivian about it on Facebook, and she was wondering if it happened so often that she was wondering if it was part of her character. The idea that she is so shitty and she's slowly dying, and you're not really meant to be able to save her because she's not really good enough. It's like natural selection.
I mean, Is she like Lucille too? Does she have vertigo?
Yeah.
I'm okay. Who am I? I'm okay.
Yeah. She is stumbly wumbly.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. But I mean, everybody that I've kind of encountered so far, like when I have set up shop to get human again, which I love that change so much. Like if you want to become human, just setting, like being summoned and helping them defeat the boss gets you back to that. Like that is that is a wonderful mechanical change that I think definitely incentivizes co-op play in a way that wasn't incentivized before. Everybody has kind of like already cleared the way to get her, to where I would place my sign to put to fight the Flexile Sentry.
mm.
Yeah. So I'm just wondering if, people who've been through this, people who've been through this rodeo before know to clear everything out, because there is a fair amount of people who will want to kill Lucatiel between here and there, and she is not that resilient.
No. Like, she's good against the boss, actually, if you can get her there.
Yeah.
Because
there's no place for her to fall off of.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Weakness hole.
And she's, and she's one of those, along with Pate, just one of those NPCs whose quest line just hinges on her surviving the boss fight.
Yeah, and it's odd that this is actually one of the easiest boss fights for her to survive, even with the hazards between here and the boss.
Yeah.
Like, getting her to this boss is easier for me than keeping her alive during Lost Sinner.
Yeah.
So I still have not successfully done that quest line. So
I don't.
No, I didn't even learn about that possibility until it was too late to do it. I managed to do the similar one for Benhart by Bonfire Asceticing for the Congregation, which he destroys those guys.
Yeah, if you can get him there, he totally wrecked shop.
Yeah.
But yeah, I totally missed out on Pate and Lucatiel, and I ended up killing Pate anyway. So.
Instincts will serve you well if you ever continue with the series. On your way back down here, explain what you mean by this next note, Cole, with the shard, because I don't know what you're getting at with that.
You know what? I think that was just something that I wrote down thinking about it, but just the idea, again, with what happens with the, what people suppose with the Lord Vessel, just this idea of something that was once whole and then being shattered and then putting it back together in order to create something more meaningful. So I'm just looking at the idea of, like the Estus shards. What is this aside from a piece of another Estus flask that was, possibly more significant than yours, that strengthens yours by being added to it, right? And so that kind of plays to, again, like, where does the Lord Vessel fit into all of this? And then just the idea of, all these other kingdoms that are broken apart and the impact that they might have on the current affairs.
Yeah, that makes sense. I thought when I read the note, I thought you meant the significance of its placement.
Nope.
Here, which I don't think there is any.
No. Okay. I just like just the idea again, like we discussed last episode with the Sublime Bone Dust. Like, who do those remains belong to?
Yeah.
I think that, again, anything related to this, that feels, if not equally significant, because there's less lore description for the Estus shard, like it feels, at least resonant with those ideas that are kind of coming to light from the fan community. Yeah.
And you can even, if you want to go slightly wankier with it, you can think of that as a metaphor for kind of the memory aspect of this. Like, you go into this and you're losing your memories and it's shattered, but you are rebuilding something from it that has value on its own.
Yeah.
Throughout the course of the game.
Yeah. Something
like, you came into this to try to repair your memories. Instead, you ended up, depending on how we end up interpreting the ending, doing this service for the Emerald Herald, which is a different goal, but is also useful from the pieces of, what you thought you were doing before.
Yeah. What you started as catastrophic event that broke you apart being assembled into something that is stronger than the whole. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Something. And yeah, exactly. Yeah. So.
Yeah, man, that is as wanky as we've ever gotten in this season.
Maybe this season, yes. We've gotten wankier than that.
We've gotten crazy wanky, but at least so far, that's
pretty wanky. There are those 2 pens. We already kind of talked about those.
Yeah.
If you have the lights on, they will stay inside their pen, which is great.
Yeah. And I love, like when you get down there, like depending on how long it's been since you've been from the bonfire, you can tell that they've wandered out. I think that their run animation, like their AI routine that makes them go away from you as quickly as possible, only activates when you're in a certain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, oh, a player. Oh my God, light!
Wait a minute, which one are you? Oh, I'll go back in here now. It's cool, dog.
Fucking elves on shelves and shit.
Yeah. So you get down here. You're back at water level, and this is pretty cool because you got kind of these jetties and the the actual pier that's going out. I love the Varangians that you can just totally see. They're not targetable.
Yeah.
Yep.
This guy's just hanging out.
Yeah, like wait for he gets on until he gets on the boat, and we'll herd him in there. Essentially,
I just want my calves to be moist.
I sure hope that guy doesn't have a spear.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you go off to the right, you can find Carhillion. He is not cookware. He is not cookware. It's Carhillion. But he is another in a long line of Dark Souls NPCs who will be a complete jerk to you if your stats are not high enough.
Yeah. If your stats are high enough, he hilariously takes you under his wing instantly.
Yep.
Like you almost get conscripted. Like,
you are my new student.
Be my pupil. Oh, okay.
Cool.
This isn't really a sorcery build, but fine. Like very well. I was gonna go talk to Hexman over by the, by the woods, but sure. I think this is when we were talking about, I was talking about the difference between NPCs in Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 2. Lucatiel I feel satisfied with. Carhillion I don't.
Yeah.
I listened to all of his dialogue today. I was trying to think of what there is to him other than giving some backstory on other places. And there's just not too much to Carhillion.
He's what is it? He's Diet Logan from Dark Souls 1.
He's bad Logan though. Logan's really interesting. Mm-hmm. He's garbage Logan.
Yeah. His motivation is interesting at the very least. He talks about basically just railing against academia, saying all their fake smiles and such, and he had to go away from the cloisters in the Ivory Tower in order to get down here where the real souls are. And that's all fine and good, but there's no development. You just exhaust his dialogue and he parks
exactly.
He parks at Majula, and that's it.
He's static. Yeah. In the between him and I can't remember the name of the guy, but the Hex tutor you meet, you do learn a lot about Melfia, and he has a really bad attitude about it as well. Mm-hmm. You get this idea that Melfia is kind of shitty, and you learn a little bit from Dark Souls 1 to Dark Souls 2. He talks about pyromancy is no longer looked down upon in any way. He talks about coming to this area because the magic here is somehow more primal. Mm-hmm. Which is interesting, and it has some kind of implications as with Vendrick's soulcraft and stuff that we'll get into a little bit later. But the big issue is just he never does anything.
Right.
Once he gets back to Majula, that's it for him.
Is he? The pyromancy lady mentions him. Does he ever mention her?
Yes, he does.
Yeah, he does.
He talks about he took a voyage over here with her, and he refers to her as that clumsy young woman.
He's much more dismissive of her than she is of him.
She looks up to him.
It's kind of sad. If there's any sadness to be found, it's in their relationship.
Yeah.
She thinks, she's very proud to be a student of him. When you meet him, he immediately just takes you on because his last student got petrified. So if there's any character to him, it's that he's just, sociopathic to that degree.
Now I feel bad for pulling that trick on her where she kept pestering me for new clothes. So I gave her the invisible ones that
Oh, that's pretty good. I'll drop this here because I forgot to put it in the notes for the appendix, and because this is apparently the Sean episode. But Sean on Facebook says, I'm probably super slow in picking this up, but Melfia, home to the great schools of sorcery and pyromancy, is surely a little nod to the Melf's acid arrow, especially as pyromancy includes the manipulation of acid as well as fire from D&D, right? Either that or something to do with MILFs, and I prefer my explanation.
Stay away from MILF's acid arrow.
Yeah.
Oh. That's a bad move. Or MILF's minute meteors. That is rough. Yeah.
Well, why did I immediately go to kidney stones? A MILF will pass kidney stones on you? What? Oh, that's gross. But, yeah, Sean wrote that into us on Facebook. And also his middle name on Facebook. I think he fell into the Halloween trap. His middle name on Facebook is Ghost Party.
That's great.
Yeah.
I can only be Gary Butterfield or, Ghoulie Butterfield.
Ghastly Butterfield?
Yeah, Ghastly Butterfield or Gary Butterfield because I exhausted my changes.
Yeah.
So, there. I did a Thanksgiving one too. I can't remember what my Thanksgiving one was, but that's all I got.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. Maybe I like that.
Sure.
Why not?
That makes sense. Yeah. Melf, Melf has a long, rich history. Those Forgotten Realms cards were pretty rad. But Carillion pisses me off, and I thought there was going to be more to him, and I listened to his dialogue today, and there's not much.
Yeah.
So
buy some spells. You're probably not high enough stats, even if you are, to get him to deign not to say, "Oh, the lights are on, but nobody's home," kind of thing. Which is about what he says. There's light there, but it's dim. Come back later.
Unless you're seriously doing a sorcerer build, it seems unlikely that you'll find any use for him except as somebody to fuel your pyromancy glove if you accidentally got the lady killed. For quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you get to the ship. The ship has some Varangians on it, and you can get pincered here if you didn't get those ones that snuck up on you from the docks. And they've got kind of a nice little little ambush set up. You go to your left to fight guys, and there are guys on your right with bows and arrows.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Sorry to interrupt. That dock seems precisely engineered to trick you into running down the wrong side of it to get away from guys and falling straight into the water.
Yeah. Yep.
Really I did that so many times.
It's got like a little stairway switchback, doesn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. It's like a nice little set piece. Like it feels like they chose the distribution of the the types of enemies that you're going to have to fight. And even the second time where I felt a little bit more confident and I was more melee built-ified, I was still kind of kiting them around.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't want to keep harping on this. I already said it, and I just want to make sure it's in there before I forget about it. Back to Carillion. I'm going to really turn this into the Carillion Bashcast. Another reason why he sucks, I think, is I can't figure out why he's here.
Uh-huh.
What is he doing here?
Yeah,
he says it.
Well, he says why he came to Drangleic. I don't think he's saying that there is soul, special soul powers in No Man's Wharf. Mm-hmm. That's crazy.
Huh. I wonder if it's related somehow to what we were talking about with the pyromancy and the arm demons.
If so, there's a little bit of pyromancy connection here with that item, but he doesn't seem like he needs a glove.
Mm-hmm. No, that's true.
He can power him up. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, all that I can think of is the Bastille seems a little bit more source build. It's sorcery buildy a little bit.
Or he's trying to get the Strayed.
Yeah.
Something like that for some reason.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's waiting for the boat to come in and didn't know where the bell was either.
Yeah.
It's kind of like
I am waiting for a bus.
It's kind of like Laurentius in Dark Souls 1, the pyromancy guy from that game, where you can tell he was on the path to get to Blighttown.
Yeah,
right?
But he was captured. He had a reason to kind of stop.
And Carillion couldn't figure out how to call the boat.
Yeah, I don't like that.
It's stupid, but it's a thing that I said out loud. So.
Even though to be fair, everyone was captured originally.
Yeah.
If you listen to those dialogue things, Gavilan was captured, Rosabeth was captured, Carillion was captured. Everyone has "get me out of this thing" line. So, and him being captured would make more sense to me. He got here, the pirates thought he was undead and strung him up.
Yeah.
For the boat, for the next time the boat came, that made sense to me. Yeah. But. Yeah.
And I love the idea of everybody here being hollow and thus going on autopilot and still okay, everybody's all y'all undead got to go to the Bastille. Doesn't matter what.
Maybe they're not trying to kill you. They're just trying to pacify you. Mm-hmm. And they can't do a false swipe on you and get you down 1 hit point.
Yeah. Nice Pokemon reference, bro.
Yeah. I brought it up last episode too, I think.
Yeah.
A false swipe just keeps coming up. Pokemon move of the year. Anyway, let's get to the boss.
Let's get to the boss.
Yeah, sorry to keep bringing up Carhillion.
But you go down and you're in the lower levels of the ship, and it's already taking on water, which I don't know why I would ever opt to cross the ocean in this, given the evidence that I'm seeing.
Yeah.
But you break through the fog wall, and here's the Flexile Sentry.
Woo! Beast with two fronts.
Let's make the beast with two fronts and three guns.
Where'd the third one come from?
It's you. The cursed gun.
Yeah, the cursed. That is the worst choose your own adventure romance novel. The Cursed Gunt. The Cursed Gunt, the lost treasure of Panis. Can I? Just real quick, can I?
Sure.
Okay. So, yeah. The beast with two fronts. So, I love this boss fight.
It's pretty cool.
It's amazing because what it does, and aside from the lore significance, which is pretty neat because it hints at stuff that's going to come later. What it does is this is a boss that it's from designing again in context, right? They're expecting people to have, if not from the previous bosses or previous enemies, designing for people who kind of know how a Dark Souls boss works. And they're discouraging two specific things. A, circling around and attacking the butt, which is what people opt to do because, it's Dark Souls, right? And B, taking your time. You're going to play conservatively, at least your first time. And A, as we've established, it's got two fronts and one back and three guns. And circling around back just gets you a face full of mace.
Yeah, you can't find the party gun no matter how many times you circle.
Yeah. And second off, the more time you spend here, the more the area fills up with water. And even though it never gets Demon Souls 5-2 level bad, it slows you down a little bit, and it makes you less able to kite them around.
Or it makes you panic.
Oh, yeah.
I did not realize that you couldn't drown. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh shit, this is great.
This isn't the last puzzle from Uninvited.
Yeah, exactly. So you can't, and he's one of these things too where he is really well designed for the reasons you mentioned for a melee character. Mm-hmm. He's one of the bosses that Dark Souls where they have those asynchronous difficulty depending on how you're approaching him. Mm-hmm. Because if you are a ranged character, he's pretty easy.
Yeah.
He is easy for sorcery or miracles.
Yeah, I totally cheesed him with fire bombs.
Mm.
Yeah. He's very easy at range, but he's very, very cool for melee.
So. What kind of character did you play the first time through, Riff?
Mainly ranged. It started out spears because I found a sweet winged spear, and then midway through I got the Black Knight halberd and used that a lot. Yep. And then around the end I switched back to spears because the crows gave me that trident of dancing.
But, my gosh, you got that.
So yeah, it's great. But mainly spears and bow is what I rocked, and no shield, just dodgy.
Nice,
sweet. That's brave on your first playthrough.
Definitely, that is unusual.
Mm-hmm. Good job.
Yeah. I tried shields to start out with, but I couldn't really get the hang of. I'd take a hit on the shield, and then the guy would immediately attack again and break through it. And I was like, maybe I should learn how to just not be hit.
Yeah, that is very quick of you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, this boss, if you have to get close to him at all, really it becomes a game of picking which side you want to fight.
Yeah.
And then recognizing that no matter what, infrequently, the other side will be able to attack you.
The coolest attack he has is if you're fighting the club side, and he bends over forward/backwards, and he stabs you with the katanas and then puts you into the ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
And it reminds me of my friend Derek, who I mentioned a lot on the show. He always told a story about when he was like this little shit. He's like, I was really annoying as a kid. And he showed me these videos of it, and he's always really annoying in the videos. And he said his older brother used to pick him up and press him into the ceiling. Like in a way that brothers beat up brothers, like not in a way that like, we should get his brother tried for this. But it reminded me of that. I was like, oh, he's really Derek and me with these katanas. But
yeah, definitely. And I just I feel like this is a really neat technical fight to engage in, even if it is, on the easy side.
And they put that pillar in the middle of the room so you can use that to your advantage.
To gain a little bit of distance, yeah.
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 Yeah. I'm not sure if there are any other lessons that it's trying to teach you. I mean, like, we can talk about the lore just a little bit. Like,
we should say what this guy is.
Yeah, in his soul description, and then frustratingly, all of his weapons kind of say roughly the same thing. This is a being that was commissioned by Vendrick to kind of be like a warden, or to be the thing that was in charge of rounding up kind of the undead that wouldn't fit in the dungeons on the mainland, to kind of ship off to a faraway land. Which ends up being the Lost Bastille. So, this is, what is it? If you can feel free not to pay your taxes, but you're going to spend, the entire week with the pain monster. Like, this is the pain monster.
Yeah. Well, it plays into that whole, like, once things just carrying out their duties. Like, to its perspective, you are just a hollow that walked in here.
Yeah.
It's going to show you a world of hurt.
And therefore it is a Shadow of the Colossus-esque tragedy. It's Nuremberg, right? He totally was just doing his job. He was following orders.
Yep, that's what I'm getting at.
Yep. Again, World War II, I'm going to lean into it. Now that we've established that this is my thing, I'll be the monster that you all think I am.
It's interesting that there's another one of these guys later blocking the path to the shrine.
Yeah, I don't like that one as much. I feel like it's fine that he's there and it makes a sense. However, I feel like they should have done a different sentry for that. Like this one I think is whole, and that one feels a little, crappy.
Certainly the geography of that location made it extremely easy fight, because you see him way off in the distance because you're up a hill, and I had poison arrows. So it was no big deal.
Yeah, he's no match for that.
Yeah.
And then after you beat the Flexile Sentry, you go upstairs, immediately check the music box thing, and miss the pyro glove. So that's what you do. And if you're smart and you look around, you don't. But that's exactly what I did. I had no idea there was a pyro glove here.
Like,
I only did not miss that because I knew the pyro glove was there, because I had looked in the wiki going, where do I get the pyro glove? I need me some fire. Where is that?
I like the idea of you not knowing what pyromancy is, but just hearing pyro glove and wanting it.
Yeah.
Like if there was such thing as a pyro glove, like I would name your price. I'm buying it.
So I run into weird situations at work. And one of my fellow people who does my job instant messaged me today asking me a request that I hear the kind of occasionally, which is, do you know of any pyrotechnics experts? And my response was, I know of some pyro enthusiast experts.
Like Swath.
Pretty much. So yeah, anything with pyro, you can just attach enthusiast and also glove to it, and everybody will be in.
Enthusiasm.
Porno for pyro gloves.
we will make great Darkstalkers. Do you find a Darkstalker in the place that we're not going to say because of spoilers?
No.
No? Okay.
Or no, we're not. You don't. Which is like you mentioned that earlier, and it made me think like, I'm not sure, but no, you don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you go up here and you examine a music. It looked like a music box to me.
Yeah. It looks like some
or
kind
a roulette table.
Yeah, it's like a roulette. It's a gambling boat. It's a river boat.
Yeah, Lady Luck, don't put me in jail now.
Also, don't go on a riverboat. It's awful because what it means is you are trapped in a place that has gambling people. Being in Cincinnati, I have at least 3 rivers, all of which have riverboats, and I've been on at least 2 of them, and both of them were irredeemable. Don't go on a riverboat to gamble.
Have you ever thought maybe the 3rd one would work, though?
A little bit.
Give it a shot, Cole.
Yeah, break that losing streak.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're garbage. I read it as like some kind of weird, just navigation tools. Like I called it in the notes an astrolabe because that's what it kind of looked like. But I don't know.
I mean, it's probably what it is. It
Yeah.
just looks, it's a little ambiguous. And the prompt when you walk up to it is examine, not activate boat. So thus,
Turn on boat.
Yeah, not go. You go boat now. And when you arrive, and we'll talk about this, you don't arrive on the boat. You arrive on the shore with the boat already leaving. So you do not get another chance of that pyroglyph unless you go back to the boat from the wharf.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's really it for No Man's Wharf. What do we want to say? Is there anything else we want to hit about this area?
What it makes me think of is, there's been more information, especially with the PC version having come out so recently. Just about people lamenting the loss of the old lighting engine that they kind of showed, just like how different things looked in the initial version. So for me, what all that I can think of kind of now in hindsight and having, replayed this area is how different would it be if it was kind of that, chiaroscuro, dark and absolutely needing a torch kind of place. And I'm wondering if that's ever going to be a place where, patchers and, fan updates and modders are going to get it back to that kind of really high contrast lighting, and if that will serve this, or if From did it for a reason that was not entirely technical, performance based, right? Like they said, we actually like totally need light to see, otherwise this is not fun.
Yeah, you can't take the whole game and make you not have a shield.
Yeah, right, pretty much.
I agree, and I also don't know, but I will try it. I'm looking forward to trying mods.
Whenever the low light mod comes out, the opposite of the flashlight mod from Doom 3.
Yeah, whenever you right click, the light goes down. This darkness lamp. It's a cool idea. Yeah. Any final thoughts, Riff?
I think we covered everything I had in mind.
Yeah, it was a thorough examination of No Man's Wharf.
Yeah.
What do we do next time, Cole?
Well, next time we will finally explore the Lost Bastille and see what kind of became of all the undead who were shipped through the No Man's Wharf. And we're going to be joined by Phil Collar of Polygon.com. Picking podcast people that I like to be on the show. So yeah, we are looking forward to that.
Yeah, and a quick note, even though we can only explore a portion of the Lost Bastille at this point in the game, since we're going geography-based, we're going to talk about all of the Lost Bastille. Yeah. So even the parts you can't get to until later, we're still going to talk about them.
Right.
So we're doing the whole Bastille. So buckle your engines.
The whole Bastille. That sounds like the worst euphemism.
Yeah. What, did she give you the whole Bastille?
Oh.
Yeah, bro. Gut and all.
Oh no!
Back
alley in Paris.
Yes.
My sinner rose.
I didn't used to lose my sinner, but as you get older,
everything was very oily.
Yeah.
Yeah. Too far. Okay.
Yeah.
Oily and on fire.
Yeah. Let's take this back a step. Riff, where can people find you?
Well, let's see. On Twitter, I'm at Rifflesby. You can play the fun online game that I write silly jokes for at kingdomofloathing.com. And you can listen to the podcast of which I am a third of, which is Video Games Hot Dog, available on iTunes and I think videogameshotdog.net.com? .com. One of those.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't beat yourself up. You guys got it.com.
Yeah, and not to start S&D or anything, but like Video Games Hot Dog is like my favorite video games podcast out there. Like for real. And one of the coolest things that's kind of come out of doing this podcast thing and being involved in something awful and just getting whatever measure of like listenership we have is kind of getting hooked up with you guys and being able to do whatever kind of like crossovers. So I would recommend everybody who listens to this, if you're interested in kind of like modern games and like especially weirder stuff that's kind of at the corners, go check that out if you're not already. So yeah.
Podcast Bros, podcast fist bump.
Yeah, boom.
Loads and sods. Boys, loads and sods. I like that podcast quite a bit too. And it's been fun to meet you. I was disappointed, because I met Zach. And I was hoping that you were also in, San Fran.
No, unfortunately not. Are you guys doing the next, Portland Gaming Retro Expo?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, we are.
Cool. I am planning to go to that then.
So. No, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
that'll be a blast.
That is quickly becoming just like a tentpole of my year is going there and meeting people. So I am very heartened to hear that.
Yeah, that's great, man.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if you like this show, if you want to hear other shows by us, if you go to duckfeed.tv, you can check out, we mentioned Watch Out for Fireballs earlier, doing Shadow of the Colossus, which will, by the time you hear this, they'll come out the next week.
No, previous week.
Previous week.
It will have just come out. Time is timey-wimey.
Yes, time is timey-wimey and Duckfeed. But we have a lot of other shows as well. You can check out The Level, which is Cole and some friends from college who do a modern video game roundtable audio magazine. And Those Damn Ross Kids, which is a comedy show he does with his brother. Very good as well.
Yeah. And you can check it out, Comrade. I will never not say that, so I apologize for the redundancy. Which is Gary and his and my friend Nick talking about indie games in a non-spoiler free way, and then the ending music plays, and then they talk about it in a spoiler way. So it is a great way to discover new stuff you should pay attention to. Also, kind of related to this, we have written content on the network as well. So Hexcrank is the survival horror blog that I write, and then also our friend from The Level, Dennis Furia, is I say finally, but it's entirely my fault. Just now, being able to launch, because I got off my ass, the Daddening blog, where it's talking about having a kid. So
yeah. All the mechanics and level design involved in that. Also want to make a note. At the time you were hearing this, if you go to youtube.com/watch out for fireballs, I have started my Dark Souls 2 Let's Play. And the 2-word spoiler for that is Whipfest. So it is nice. Whipfest is finally here. We've been hinting at Whipfest for a while, and now Whipfest has arrived.
Now that whips are a tenable build for somebody who's not Lobos.
Exactly. Yeah, I am not Lobos. I do mild challenge runs. So,
are you Belmonting it up? Did you get the old one?
I think I'm going to try to get the old whip. And I actually am going to get the old whip. I'm going to keep recycling until I get it. But my goal eventually is to power stance 2 whips, because you can do that and it looks hilarious. So.
Yeah, I tried that on Vendrick, but my whips did not last through the entire fight.
That's the issue. Actually, you know what? And boy, this is bad to throw this into the end. I forgot about that. That's a kind of an area theme for this too.
It totally is.
This is a terrible organization, but like you are going to run out of weapon durability because this area is so long.
Yep.
The first time I fought Flexile Sentry, I was using the fire sword, and I freaked out and had to switch weapons through the menu to the broadsword halfway through the fight.
Oh my god!
And I totally did, and it was really intense, and I can't believe I forgot about it.
You actually survived that? That's awesome.
Yeah. It was really cool. Like I baited him into a corner, ran to the other side, and just menued like I'd never menued before. And he ended up hitting me, but I dodged out of the way of the second shot and was able to heal. It was really cool. I can't believe I forgot about that. I think I've just played this game a few times now, so that's not the most recent Flexile encounter I've had.
Yeah, but definitely ran into that for the first time as well, and I feel responsible for that because I didn't put it in the notes. But
no, it's okay. Like but
and just in relation to the to the whole network thing, you will have heard this at the beginning. Riff, we haven't recorded this, so don't worry if this catches you off guard. Check out the Patreon that we just launched, duckfeed.tv/tipjar. There will be an image there and a link, and consider like even $1 from any person per month is going to be incredibly helpful towards helping us do, things like the Portland Retro Game Show kind of thing for Watch Out for Fireballs. So just a reminder of that if you have the time and the inclination and the resources.
Yep. Cool. Agreed. Cool. And until next time, what should they do?
They can wheel. And they can deal.
What if they get all sick of wheeling?
They can deal.
Okay.
Okay. They can call
there's a backup.
They can call you Ray, and they can call you Jay.
You can call me Wheel, and you can call me Deal.
Also, they can seek misery.
Let this land swallow you whole.
Like it has so many others. Umbasa.
Umbasa.
Praise the sun.
And we all pray that we will have far more soon